Hello and welcome to an evening with comrades. Apologies about the daylight savings, but finally, here we are. And I'd like to say a welcome to joining us tonight, Pac-Man.
Oh boy, am I excited.
We also have with us Theo.
I am going to be talking a lot tonight.
We also have with us Dip Dap.
Yeah, we're about to have some Erdogan shit.
Yeah.
And I'll be your host, TK. Let us know in the comments if the audio is perfectly fine. And, well, let's jump right into it. Turkey has invaded. Now, I gotta get this right. Turkey has invaded areas which are under control of the SDF, and they
It's
have.
Syrian Democratic.
Yep, and they have royally screwed it up. So,
All right.
yeah,
May
Theo,
I?
take it away.
I have been spending the past 2 days really closely following the events in northeastern Syria. About 2 days ago, the Turkish forces began crossing. Their main goal being the city of Tal Abyad. Uh, this failed horrendously because within the first day of the offensive, the YPG killed like about a platoon's worth of tanks and a whole bunch of APCs and other vehicles. The Kurds still control Tel Abyad, but the Kurds currently control some of the areas around the city, but they don't have the Kurds cut off. And the Kurds have a shit ton of ways of still getting supplies into the city. Um, Further in the east, that would be in fucking Tel Halaf and Serkanye. Uh, the Turks have been faring a bit better as of today. They've captured Tel Halaf and further down Katinah, but they have failed to take Serkanye. Further up north, we have the town of, the major town of fucking uh, Kamishli, which the Turks haven't really performed many operations in because that's where the Syrian government is, and they don't want to piss off Assad too.
Mm.
A car bomb exploded there today, killing quite a few people, and ISIS has claimed responsibility for that. Further up north, there has been a minor border crossing and some skirmishes in Diwa. But what I want to focus on tonight is the events that have been transpiring in the past 5 hours around the town of around Kobani. Now, there was a United States Special Forces in. I should preface this. Trump made the decision to pull out of Syria earlier this week. The U.S. military hasn't really done that yet, and the way things are looking, they don't think they have any real intention of pulling the special forces out of Syria as things stand right now. Um, so the U.S. special forces still have their positions taken up near Kobani. Earlier today, about 5 hours ago, the Turks began an offensive against the town of Kobani, which, as I said, still has U.S. special forces troops in it. They began with heavy artillery bombardment and strafing runs from F-4 Phantoms. Then they decided to shell a United States military base
Oof.
with 155 mortars.
Oh.
And then they claimed, no, we weren't aiming at the US military base. We were aiming at a YPG position behind it, which we would definitely be able to know about.
Yeah, sure you were. Oh boy.
And how many miles away were they from that base? You hitting?
Sorry, what far away were who to what base?
How far is this so-called YPG base? And
Uh,
that thing they hit.
It's about 3 miles into the fucking country. They claim they took mortar fire from there. I doubt it, to be honest.
Also, doesn't that seem like a bit of a beyond a reasonable doubt
Yeah.
amount of error in hitting something?
Earlier today, also, the Turkish Air Force opened fire with an F-4 Phantom, fired quote unquote warning shots at a US military convoy in central northern Syria. Yeah.
Oh.
Hmm.
So the Secretary of Defense has stated that fucking US troops on the ground reserve the right to self-defense. In that shelling I was talking about earlier, 3
Mhm.
French servicemen have now been confirmed as having been wounded in the bombardment, and we don't have any information about any potential American casualties. But considering that there are US special forces in the city that reserve themselves the right to self-defense, and that the Turks are currently mounting an infantry assault on the town, I'm assuming we will probably be getting casualty reports. And a lot of countries have mobilized their air forces. This is the biggest fuck up, I think, because first of all, the Turks are losing to the SDF at the moment in conventional warfare. They will make gains, but nothing they can like hold indefinitely.
Mm.
But here's what's really like the fuck up that I found so funny. Israel has condemned them. So has the Arab League. So have the Russians.
Shit.
Turkey got the Arab League and Israel to agree on something. That's the first thing. Then they open fire on US positions. Let me actually read this to this. Let me actually try and find this again. Oh yeah, Turkish Foreign Ministry says that they will quote retaliate if the US imposes sanctions on them. Don't know how that works really, but right. So I put in the green room text earlier. Gonna post it again. This laughable fucking diagram that they used as an excuse. So I will try to put the link in YouTube chat. It probably won't let me, but
I think TK did.
Yeah, I dumped it in.
oh yeah. Uh
I think
yeah,
I
if you
think the thing that is lacking on this map that they put up is a sense of scale, because there's nothing to indicate how far away any of this
yeah,
is.
right. So it makes it look like that's just like, a few hundred meters from the border. No, that's 3 miles into fucking Syrian territory.
Shit.
That in the middle there is a huge town. Kobani is one of the largest settlements in northeastern Syria. So, um, yeah, if you go on like Google Maps and like zoom in on that area and try and find the town of Kobani, about you know 2 grids down, you will have the military base on Marsh Hill. Let me try and find the other thing. Right there. According to Brett McGurk, Turkish forces have fired on a declared US military outpost in northern Syria. Turkey knows all of our locations down to the precise grid coordinate, as confirmed by the Secretary of Defense only 2 hours ago. This was not a mistake. So that does imply that the Turkish military has knowingly opened fire on US positions and has been confirmed to have wounded 3 French servicemen. And also, we have to talk about this, of course. The Turks have, during this offensive, already committed about 10 war crimes.
Hmm. I was about to
They've
ask, like,
Were they on war crime Wednesday?
what is the proper
Let me-
reason that they're going into
Okay, I can
SDF
tell you
territory?
that. I can tell you that their plan is to create an exclusion zone. Now, in that exclusion zone, they want to. So they have a bit of a refugee problem with a lot of Arab refugees from the early days of the crisis. Remember
Mhm.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they want to do is they want to use this exclusion zone. First off, here comes the ethnic cleansing. They want to remove all Kurds from the area and resettle them somewhere,
Yeah.
not specified where. Uh, and
We all know what governments
then
like this define as resettling.
and then they
Hmm.
want to resettle all of their Arab refugees in this area because they're
Are they also doing something with Assyrians
probably.
and other
They
ethnic
haven't
minorities? I assume.
they haven't stated that, but I would assume so.
Mm-mm.
Now that was also something they used as a defense at the UN. Um, like they said, no, we don't want to do genocide, just ethnic cleansing.
Are you telling me they stood in the middle of the United Nations and said to them, "No, we're only going to do genocide light"?
Basically,
The
What
free
the
version of genocide.
What the fuck?
The free trial.
What is
Now-
wrong
Yeah.
with these fucking people?
They also
gets
want to
better.
occupy the oil fields south of Al Suwa. That's the big one.
I think Assad would beat them to the. But anyway, here's the important bit. The Turks. Well, important bit. Here's what has happened so far. The Turks have bombed a school, bombed 2 hospitals, bombed a civilian convoy of people fleeing from Tel Abyad as it was being attacked. They've shelled fucking. Hold on, what was it? Right, they shelled a bakery.
All
Yep.
those fucking Kurds making bombs in a bakery.
Yeah.
Flower bombs are pretty deadly, not gonna lie.
Yeah. And a lot of other things. We have already confirmed quite a few civilian casualties. During this whole ordeal, the Turks have killed, as of like today, about 120 Kurdish fighters, which is a lot less than the Kurds have killed. I'm going to tell you that right now.
So have they launched
I-
this offensive directly because the US announced that they're gonna slowly pull
Yes.
out?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's an opportunity.
they wouldn't have.
So then why
They wouldn't have done it if they were still there.
why would they wait? Why didn't they wait for the US to be
Because the
fully out?
US isn't going to pull out. They are not going to pull out.
Ah, okay.
When does the
Yeah,
US actually pull out?
Yeah, good
Like-
point.
To quote Vietnam, when they get actually forcibly run out. The United States Secretary of Defense states that we reject Turkish military operations in Syria. We have not abandoned the Kurds, and in the Turkish invasion of Syria puts our entire relationship with Ankara at stake. To quote the US Secretary.
Okay,
If this gets any worse, we could see. Well, that's the thing. If the Yanks recall their ambassador from Ankara, that's it.
I'm telling
that's-
you.
Game on.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, if a US serviceman dies, the US will have troops on the ground within the week.
Oh, also the PKK is actively saying if they do not pull out of this assault, they will have armed revolt in Turkey.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I'm
Oh,
also going to
God.
post. So, the Turks claimed that the US military base they were shelling, they weren't shelling it. They were shelling at something behind the ridge. Now, here's an image of the explosion. Is that behind the ridge?
Not at all. I'll post the Discord CDN link in chat.
Yeah. So you
Okay.
can look at that. So yeah, the fucking Turks are lying through their fucking teeth.
We actually
It's fucking.
we've got a question from OnlyBro555 for DipDap. Are there any
Mhm.
tankies who are defending Turkey? Oh, you
Yes.
deleted
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
most
oh,
of them.
yeah.
He deleted
most
it
of them.
most
before
of
I
them
could
are.
finish it. But yeah, he's basically
Okay.
asking like, are there anybody saying like
All right. I actually talked about this on Twitter a little bit. Let me get the actual thing that someone said because I quote tweeted it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Tankies are doing their standard thing where with critical support for genocidal regime as long as it dabs on people we don't like.
Oh
Oh.
yeah.
Literally it.
Yeah.
Literally it. Marxist Leninists, come at me in the chat. I don't give a fuck.
Anyone remember that account, Labor Wave CCCP, the one that's like really, really bad? I said stop cheering for genocide, dumb fuck, with a fucking shut the fuck up cracker image. These people, this is like the hojist that told me that that the Soviets should have killed all of the Sami in Murmansk, so we would shut up about it.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really feeling that fraternal socialist brotherhood, guys. I really am.
Really feel that like,
I think
You know,
one of the big
love it.
contrasts is there's actual MLs like on the ground in SDF territory
in
fighting off ISIS, defending the Kurds, and then you've got wannabe MLs on Twitter with the worst theory and the worst praxis in the world,
This is the thing. Like,
cheering
the
Turkey. Sorry, go ahead, Pac-Man.
they attack. What really gets me is they attack the filthy. They attack the filthy capitalist imperialists for trying to ruin the world with their capitalism and their imperialism. But like, when it comes to Iran or Turkey, theocratic genocidal ethno-states, nah, it's okay. They're resisting the capitalists, so it's great.
I wouldn't.
because they sound like Kautsky. They sound like Kautsky. They are not revolutionary defeatists.
Critical support for the Confederacy against Yankee imperialism.
What is it? What is it?
Fuck.
So
Fucking hell,
I actually
right?
had an argument. I actually had an argument with someone about it because, right. I basically told them that they were basically saying that because there are U.S. troops on the ground, that makes them, quote, the enemy. Now, barring the fact that there are U.S. troops in Turkey, that's besides the point. But how do I put this? The Turks are not the victims here. In fact, after this, the fucking Americans would have a legitimate reason to go to war. The Turks fucked up so bad that they put the NATO on the moral high ground.
Yeah.
How do you put NATO on the moral high? Like, that's the thing. How do you fuck up that bad? Like, genuinely.
By becoming a
It's-
fascist regime and invading a neighboring country for ethnic cleansing purposes.
Look, when are the Americans worried about ethnic cleansing unless it threatens their oil supply?
It does, and they are
That's
shooting
the
at
exact
US
reason.
troops. Well,
The
the
Americans
real
want to
reason,
keep hold of the oil fields in the southeast of Kurdistan. That's what
I mean,
they're
at this
really
point,
worried about.
at this point, the real reason that they're getting mad is because the Turks are shooting at American personnel, which understandable.
Well, that's the thing. Trump was kind of. I'm convinced that Trump was hoping he knew it was coming, get the U.S. troops out the way so they can let them genocide the Kurds and then redeploy special forces to maintain control of the oil fields from Assad, and then let the Turks have the rest. That's what I was expecting them to do. But looking at the tactical and strategic situation of Turkish forces in Kurdistan right now, the Turks have fucked this up so royally. It's because you look at the strategic situation and the tactical situation from where I'm sitting, you can look where the Turks have made gains. Every single major urban concentration, like they've captured Tal Halaf, they've captured that. But all the places where the Turks have made gains are small towns or the fields near cities. The interior of the cities themselves are still held by the YPG. And the Turks have been rebuffed every time they've tried to go in.
Yeah,
Like-
because the Kurds are dug in so bad that it would take an army, the manpower of which the Turks do not have in the area, to dislodge them. They
Yeah, the
also
Turks
tried to
don't-
go into confined urban fighting with tanks and were surprised when they got fucking destroyed. Also, the Kurds are shooting around with high-grade US gear that suddenly
Yeah.
appeared in their hands a few days ago.
Miraculously.
Yeah. Also, the YPG rebuffed the assault on Kobani in the west. That's that fire that I just posted. That's a burning Turkish outpost.
The funny thing is the YPG and the PKK have done exactly what I would do in this situation. The moment Turks declared hostilities, they crossed the border and torched Turkish outposts in Turkey. Because it's just
only
a shit show.
Bro 555 says NATO will definitely be destabilized by this. Do you guys think that's true?
No, not really.
No.
Because everyone is mad at Turkey. All of Europe is calling for their expulsion from NATO, and it's on the Congress floor. NATO is pretty much united at this point in wanting Turkey out of their alliance.
NATO is essentially the United States and the UK, essentially at this point. If you look
Yeah,
at
the
the combat
Germans.
readiness of the Bundeswehr,
Germans.
the Bundeswehr is criminally underfunded and criminally undermanned. They don't have anything like the capability they had during the Cold War. I mean, realistically speaking, the Germans can put maybe 3 solid divisions in the field at the moment. I doubt they'd have the ability to support them. I mean, the only real strength that the Germans have in terms of capability, I would say, is they'd be able to get maybe 2 mechanized infantry divisions and a tank division up and running, plus the Luftwaffe.
The real way that the Germans pull is the economic one, because
Yeah, that's the big weapon they have.
A lot of weapons that the Turks use come out of Germany.
Yeah.
We've got someone else in the chat. I apologize to them profusely about the pronunciation of their name. Lukas Kowalczuk says NATO probably won't kick Turkey out. They fear it will push it towards Russia. Russia has condemned Turkey for their actions.
Yeah.
And Theo, you said before we went live that Russia has sent like heavy transport, and Russia's going to put.
Yeah, I think that's for the offensive against the jihadis in Idlib, though. But what the Russians have done is that the VDV is sitting around in Dagestan now. Yeah.
The Russian airborne forces are the strongest troops the Russians have. I instinctively say the Soviets, and I wasn't even born then. But the VDV are the strongest troops in the Russian military besides the Spetsnaz themselves. They're the largest mobile formation and arguably the best equipped. The Russians are keeping them there as a QRF, I think. I think they're there to protect Russian assets. They're not. They won't directly confront the Turks. What I think we might see, if shit gets really bad, we may see Russian asymmetric operations in Turkey. Yeah. So a power station in Turkey will disappear for some reason.
Also, it will just go away.
Also, Royal Navy, not Royal Navy, Royal Air Force planes in Cyprus are put on high alert right now.
Okay, so how much of this is actually preparing for an eventual strike against Turkey, and how much of this is just posturing?
I think a lot of what it is that a lot of NATO currently is pointing their guns at Turkey and they pull out, get out of there, or I will fire. And if the fucking Turks keep provoking NATO, they will get first. But they're already gonna get kicked out for this. But, yeah.
What we're gonna see.
The Harry S. Truman is sitting in the Adriatic right now, so that has enough firepower on it to wipe out the fucking Turkish Air Force and half of Ankara.
That just a reminder to these people that, to anybody that might say that we're like being American bullshit shills or whatever, you can oppose 2 imperialists that are fighting. It's called being a fucking communist.
Yeah. Also,
good take. I like
also the point that the US is the ones that are being attacked for existing right now, like in that area.
Like, the thing is, we already know that the US has enough global reach. We'll know sooner or later, once more American assets arrive in the area, we will see escalation. I think the biggest thing that we're going to see, we'll know what's going to happen if the US decides to enforce aerial superiority over Syria. If they do that, then it's... Because the Russians and the Americans had a huge issue about potential conflict between their 2 air forces. We could see the US confront Turkey in the air I'm waiting. I think the thing that will kick it off is if Turkish Air Force assets get shot down, which I think they will.
Hmm.
No, I mean,
If the
yeah, they will.
if the situation keeps going the way it is, I don't have any doubt that the U.S. Air Force will eventually start knocking down those aircraft if they keep doing what they're doing.
In
Oh,
green room
yeah, but-
text, I just posted an image of the U.S. patrol that Turkish F4 opened fire on.
Yeah, that picture right there. I don't know whether it's the big American flags or the giant armor-plated vehicles, but
I
I'm
mean-
pretty sure that ain't YPG.
Well, the YPG have Humvees, but that's not a Humvee.
Hmm.
That's
If I could shift focus slightly,
Oh,
because I wanted to get you guys.
we're all robots.
change the
Apologies, everybody. You should be hearing me okay, but I can't hear anybody else okay.
change server. Hey,
I'm just trying to update the server location and it won't let me.
What do you mean it would let you?
your server is.
There we go. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
There we go. We're in Rush now.
I changed it.
Okay. So we're
Yeah, of
back?
course, TK's gonna be okay. He's the fucking host. But yeah.
Okay. So I was trying to ask what your opinion on, and if it'll have any effect, the solidarity protests around the world for condemning the attack on their banners. It says Rojava. So there's been a few places. I know there was a small one in Melbourne, I believe. There's another in the UK, and then a few dotted around the world. I only say a few because I haven't got much information on them. But it's like different groups trying to condemn the actions of Turkey. What do you guys think about that? And do you think it'll actually be useful?
I mean, it's about the limit of what we can do as civilians in another fucking country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really
About
the most
limit
you
of
can
what we
do.
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently there's a Turkish consulate in my city. I think I might go.
Go back. When I
Email
told
does
you
not
the,
advocate violence.
TK, remember how I told you what we should do with Voynich and get him to go to the Turkish embassy in New York with his fucking half Russian, half Armenian blood?
Oh yes, yes.
Offer still stands if he listens.
Well, I think we've got some money saved up in the Patreon bank. Let's send him some dosh.
Hey guys.
EML does
hey
not
guys.
advocate violence.
Check it
does
out.
advocate the harassment of consulates though.
This consulate is temporarily closed.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I wonder why.
Uh-oh.
I might. You know what? I might actually email the Turkish embassy in Canberra, and ask them what the fuck they are doing.
Shit.
Look. In all seriousness, there's no doubt in my mind that the United States will. Firefox says I won't do it. Okay, one sec. Where are we?
Oh, he's doing it now. While you're doing that,
Okay, where's my phone? That's the Turkish embassy phone number. I'm gonna call the Turkish embassy. Give me a second.
Oh God.
oh no!
Wait a minute. I'm gonna call the Turkish embassy. Just give me a moment.
Peter.
Ladies and gentlemen, live on air
Live on air.
Eastern Marshlands.
Okay.
Pac-Man is going to call the Turkish consulate. We do not advocate this. We do not advocate violence. We do not advocate harassing.
I'm gonna ask them
consulates.
for comments on their current attempted genocide in Kurdistan and what they're going to do to stop. Let's call. Okay.
Oh god.
So, what's their number? There they are.
Let's
One
start
second.
taking bets on
And
their
then-
response. I reckon they're just gonna hang up.
Yeah, they're gonna hang up on me. No doubt. One sec.
Well, while you're calling, I will just say, there was an article, I believe Theo posted, talking
Yes, I
about
did.
how the U.S. soldiers or special forces were saying that they had come to revere and admire the SDF forces, and they really regret the decision. Well, not regret, but don't like the decision for the US to pull out. And in fact, there's actually a lot of people in the US government itself that that were saying like, why are we pulling out? Why are we doing this? This is so stupid. And of course, Turkey attacks, and their point is proven.
In before Peter gets a knock on the door from the Turkish Grey Wolves.
What are the Grey Wolves?
The Turkish Fascist Party.
Yeah.
Well, they can
And
come
I mean,
to my house and fight me.
ethno-fascist. Yeah, they're like really fucking bad.
They're
Yeah.
really bad.
Hi. I would just like to ask. I know this is only a message bank, but I would like to ask about the current status of
Oh
your
my
forces
God,
in
what
Syria,
the-
and I would like to ask what your intentions are, and if you intend to keep carrying out this ethnic cleansing that you're doing. Thank you. Sorry. I just had to leave a message on their voicemail because it was a mailbox.
Oh,
My bad.
God. Jesus fucking Christ.
EML should do a phone call hour one day.
My God. All right. Well, it's
Sorry,
not,
I'm just gonna flex on the. I don't give a fuck. I live in a Western democracy, quotation marks. I've got my constitutional rights. I can say what I want.
Well, I think that's a good point, maybe, to cap that off and move on to the next topic. Unless there's any last little words on that.
Peter called them when they're open again and then record it. We should do that actually. That'd be fun.
All right.
I'm
well,
registering my distaste at your government's actions. Please cease and desist.
I'd like to.
Hi, I'm a journalist.
like everybody to remember to like and subscribe, and to notice. Hopefully, it's still there. Down in the description, there is a donation link. When you donate directly to Streamlabs, it'll come up in our PayPal. And when you do donate, there'll be a little thing. Hey, Comrade John has donated $11. Thanks, Invisible John. Example John.
Where's Zordon?
Yeah, where's our main man Zordon? With the bills are due.
Number one Stan.
I'd love to. You guys do realize I'm actually wearing my EML does not advocate violence t-shirt.
Nice.
Oh, also, don't forget to buy our merch.
Yes.
Buy our merch.
Yes.
Yes, buy our merch. Help TK eat. That's always a good thing.
So
Let's be honest, that's what most of it goes to.
for a little while now, there's been a brewing shitstorm in the US and the US government because Trump was accused of by a whistleblower leaking information that Trump, in a phone call not only to the Ukrainian president but to ScoMo, our lad, that he instructed them to investigate his political rival Joe Biden. Then, on live TV, he says to China and instructs them to investigate Joe Biden.
Which is illegal.
Then he has refused, or the Trump administration has refused to cooperate with the impeachment probe.
Which I believe is, guess what? Also illegal to my understanding.
Yeah,
It is.
Oh my!
I've said it
this
before and I'll
guy's-
say it again. Good lawyers all over the world will tell their clients to shut the fuck up. No one is able to shut Trump the fuck up.
No one can and no one will until he's fucking dead, basically.
Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Brigadier General Strike in the
Yes.
chat.
Happy
my
birthday,
man.
Brigadier General Strike.
Yeah, a big fan of ours and a big fan of mine, actually.
So
He's
my-
always on my videos.
So my question for this is that given that Trump's heading of the of the US and its economy is basically driving it into the ground and is actually making people get more radicalized and seeing the uselessness of bourgeois democracy. If we were to get a second, would it be better to get a second term with Trump, or would it be better to get Trump impeached and have a term with Pence? Like, what's a good
Yeah,
outcome
impeach
in
Trump.
all this?
Impeach
Okay.
Trump.
Okay, I'm gonna say my thesis here on this whole situation is
All right, hold on. Let me just
regardless.
set aside the next 2 hours for this thesis.
No. This is
Yeah,
quick.
yeah. This is the
Regardless,
half hour.
on this, regardless of if he is impeached or not fully, it is a discrediting of liberal democracy because if he is impeached, that means it took us 3 years, and if he isn't, that means we let it continue.
Boys, impeach him.
My
Impeach him.
opera
At
just
least.
crashed. I'm like, what?
We need to impeach him. The reason why is that the impeachment process, as we've seen with Australia, the impeachment of the president of the United States or the changing of the prime minister, even though he was elected, this is boogaloo starting stuff. Like, this is because Trump has a cultish following. Let's not beat around the bush here. He does.
Yeah. We've
Now,
all
most of
seen
them
the
are a
boomer
bunch of shit
memes.
Like, most of them are shit talkers, but there are a few neo-Nazis among them who are dead serious.
Well, there's
And
some regular militias that aren't. They're like a bit to the right. They're armed, and they train, and they're very willing to finger quotes defend their president if he's impeached.
what really bothers me about this, what really fucking irritates me about this, is that this exposes the hypocrisy of most of these groups. Because I have spoken to a lot of American servicemen, my best friend included, who's probably watching the stream. I don't know if he is. But US servicemen and National Guard members and the militias and stuff, I know it's taking faith in a liberal democracy, which we don't like to do. But they swear an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States, not the president. And if he's impeached legally, then they have no ground to stand on.
So if they had any
They're
actual
terrorists.
integrity, and when they say we uphold the Constitution, then they would march on Washington to remove Trump because he's impeached and he
Yes.
refuses to leave.
Yes.
All right, Peter, but question: do you think these groups actually have integrity?
No.
There you go.
I don't even think they have competency.
What they
don't.
are is a bunch of right-wing larpers and neo-Nazis. Like the only good, I mean, as weird as it sounds, the only good people I really sort of, the people in the militias are like the 3%ers and the Oath Keepers and that sort of thing. They're just fucking larpers. They're nutters, right? The people who actually want to defend their communities and do all that, as weird as it sounds, are in the National Guard. They help out during hurricanes and shit like this. They're the actual upstanding members of community. These militias are nothing but right-wing terrorists waiting to happen. They're a bunch of spineless cult of personality fuckwads.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about them. Genuinely. Like,
For all their talk,
they're horrible.
For all their talk of saying that they want to help their community, what results of it is that they're out in, I'll use Australian terminology, they're out in the bush on the piss, and that's it. Whereas you have...
I was going to use bumfuck whoop whoop, but I mean that's Australian terminology.
Bumfuck whoop whoop. Jesus Christ.
And then
that's
for us,
Australian
that'd be butt fuck nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Whoop whoop in
in
Australia is nowhere.
in contrast, to sort of point out what would be a good thing, would be community groups that are actually trying to alleviate the symptoms that are being caused by, neoliberal democracy and economics. It's
Food,
groups,
not bombs, ladies and gents.
exactly, for groups that are trying to help the homeless, trying to get people
Uh,
off the streets and whatnot. Those are the kind of
yeah.
groups that are actually doing proper work, not LARPing, actually organizing out in the streets. Contrast that with the example we brought up, these LARPing militias that can just come to my house and fight me.
Okay, so like the good thing is that groups that are good are starting to pop up more and more in America, especially, and especially in poverty regions. And I live in one of the poorer states, Alabama. Here in Birmingham, there is a land trust, and I talk about them more than once on here before. But they do a food bank thing. They grow all the food themselves.
Hmm. Are these groups that are popping up a direct result from Trump's policies, or is it just a general degeneration of capitalism because it's been around for so long?
Answer yes. To both.
Ah,
The one here is run by an anarchist.
okay.
Group.
So if we've got liberals watching, right? Could you
I
elaborate
hope not.
on how Trump's policies are, let's say, speeding up capitalism's decline?
To paraphrase Marx, to speed up the social revolution, I vote for free trade.
Fair
Like,
enough.
that's all I need.
That's pretty concise. So what do you guys think? If Trump gets impeached, and he for some reason gracefully leaves the office, tries to pull a Nixon at the helicopter and does the peace signs, and then Pence comes in, what kind of do you think at that point a lot of people will then just sort of stop? Because it seems like a lot of people
Yes.
are sort of radicalizing because of Trump, and then they'll think, aha, Trump's out, job's done, dusting of hands, and then that's it. Do you think that would result
Yes.
under a
Some will,
Pence
some will.
government?
Yes, some will. That's like an inevitability that like in a radical situation, in a radicalizing situation, at the end of the radicalizing situation, the amount of people that will radicalize at the end of it will drop. But the fact is that many of them will stay radicalized, and people will still become radicalized because of the memory of that.
Ah. So is that a way we can keep people radicalized then? Keep
Yeah.
reminding them
Yes.
of the Trump times?
That this is what happens when you have liberal democracy, and that it either that this again will happen again. If you do not get rid of liberal democracy, this will happen again. That is not just a scare tactic, it is the truth. Because sure, you get your 8 years of Obama. Mind you, he was just as much of a fucking butcher as Trump is. But before that, you had Bush, who was just as much of a butcher as Obama, and now you have Trump, who is even more of a butcher than both of them, to my understanding.
And we're headed into, well, I say we, I mean DipDap, because you're the only U.S. person right
I'm
now.
the only fucking Yank.
Yeah. You're headed into an election year for 2020, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you
Yeah.
think an ongoing impeachment is going to affect Trump's re-election?
The
It
people that
will
support him will vote. They will vote. And if he were to be impeached, the people that voted for him will find someone who supported him and vote for him or her or them or whatever. Let's be real. I shouldn't even say they. It's he. people that support Trump are, and that are actually in politics are men.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even have to
Actually,
say they.
I would say that there was quite a lot of support amongst female voters for Trump, which was quite
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, middle class women who weren't in politics.
Oh yeah, they vote for Trump because I hate to say it because they're husbands. They vote Republican because they always vote Republican. That was the truth
They
of it.
vote
My
Republican
daddy
because their
voted
parents
Republican.
voted
His daddy
Republican, and
before
my
him.
daddy before him voted Republican. I mean, that's what it is in America. Is it's a lineage football team.
Mm.
That's what the parties are. They are lineage football teams. Your parents voted for one, you will vote for that one. If you don't, then you're a rebel and you're in the minority.
Would you then saying that? Would you then agree that Bernie has already been stiffed of the nomination and he's not going to get it?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
yeah. Well, Bernie had a heart attack, and that's for lack of a better metaphor, killed his chances.
Yeah.
Oof. Just because of public image?
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfit for office. You can hear the claims from all the way from here to fucking Seattle. You can hear the cries of unfit for office.
So what choices?
Like, yes, he's a great.
Yeah.
You can hear the cries from here, like, yeah, he's a great guy and all, but he won't last out a term. So I'd much rather a fit Republican president who knows the job than some Democrat who might die of a heart attack.
Oof.
And it's what his Republican opponents will say too.
I mean, the Democrats were saying that in 2016 that he was unfit because he was too old,
Yeah.
and he lived for 4 years.
Only Bro 555 asks DipDap directly, aren't there rumors that Hillary will be VP candidate for Elizabeth Warren? This is going to be
If she
2016 all
is,
over again.
That's game over.
Game over.
Yeah, like there is no way Hillary will even remotely come close to being a part of the political team. Like, not even close. Like, if the Democrats are fucking dumb enough to do that,
They're dumb.
fuckingly stupid do you have to be?
They're dumb, but they're not that incompetent to try to run Hillary again.
Yeah.
Why would you? What
This is
possible reason?
This is how Bernie can still win.
This is how Bernie can still win the 2016 election. All right, we're gonna need a DeLorean.
Sorry, I only have what's big and scary? A tank. Yeah, all tanks. I have all tanks in the world now. I'm gonna fucking die.
All right. Well, I guess what would be some advice for comrades if they're trying
Don't vote.
to if you're trying to all right, say we've got like an
Don't
absolute
vote.
comrade of a friend, right? But then they have a liberal friend. What's like some advice we could give our comrade of a friend to convince the liberal to be radicalized in the context of Trump getting impeached and leading into the election with no proper choice?
Obama was just as bad as Trump because of the butchering of Syrian children, war crimes. It doesn't matter what side you're on, they both are just war criminals. Every president since Harry Truman should be hanged at fucking Nuremberg.
Tell us what you really think, Dibdap.
Advocate violence.
EML does not advocate the hanging of U.S. presidents.
Mainly because they're all dead.
I advocate the due process of all of these war criminals, and if so for that the judge decides that they are to be hanged, then they shall be hanged.
Oh.
Oof.
I'm saying, hey, at least I'm not saying do it without trial.
True. All right, fair enough. So long as we vote on it, we're allowed to commit violence. Email
I
does
mean,
not
yeah,
advocate unlawful
Mm.
violence.
EML advocates the due process of law.
Oh god, it makes me
EML
feel. It
advocates
makes me feel like a liberal
long dick
when I
of the
say
law
that.
onto U.S. presidents.
EML does not advocate violence.
EML advocates the long dick of the law upon U.S. presidents only.
The long dick of the law.
The long rope of the law.
The long schlong of the law.
The long rope of the law.
The schlong.
Ah, well, I guess maybe we've sort of said all we
Oh
can.
no, it's shit. It's Sheriff Long Dong Johnson. Sorry.
Long Dong Johnson with a big iron on his hip.
Long Don D. Johnson.
Anyway,
Oh shit, that's an anti-tank gun. Oh boy.
anyway,
Yes. All right.
dip dab. Dip dab.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Hong Kong.
All hail Long Dong
Kong!
Johnson.
All right.
Hong Kong!
Just
Okay,
before
fellas.
just before we do,
The
wanna
dip
remind
dab, the
everyone-
dip dab dabs on Dengus half hour.
Just
Yep,
want to
here we
remind
go.
everyone to like and subscribe, and when you do subscribe, there's a little test one. We've just subscribed to ourselves. You get your name down in the corner, and don't forget to check out Crypto's store, and you can see the link in the description, which will take you directly to our T-shirt.
To hell.
Yes, it's a T-shirt, a black T-shirt with EML does not advocate violence. It's a nice T-shirt. Every T-shirt you buy will support
Satan.
the workers who make the T-shirts and supports what's the word?
Satan.
Organizing direct in somewhere in the UK, wherever Crypto may be. Now,
Oh, for fuck's sake, he's in Scotland, for goodness sake.
I'm just
Is there any doubt?
good
Like,
point.
oh no. Oh, this guy is talking like this. You know,
Ugh.
he's
Ugh.
from Wales.
What?
Yeah, he's from fucking Wales.
Don't ever
That's the wrong-
attempt
He's from Wales.
that accent again, Pac-Man. Jesus
Peter, the
fucking
worst part is
Christ.
The worst part is you did a Welsh accent when you tried to do that.
Fuck's
No, a Welsh accent is not that. No,
That's a Cardiff accent, yes.
no, it's
Jesus
not.
Christ.
Yes, it is.
So,
Welsh accent be sing-songy. That's Welsh. That's Welsh. Not. Yeah, that's Welsh. Not Scottish.
they call
Scottish
it
is
the Pissy
just-
Valley because
yeah.
it always pissing with rain. So,
Yeah, that's Welsh.
Some news coming out of Ecuador. For the past couple of weeks actually, indigenous groups have been marching to the capital, and while they have been, unions and workers have been on a general
The
strike.
military?
General strike in the capital. The military this week have slowly, different units have been defecting and joining the people in the capital. The government has fled the capital, and there's even
Ironically,
there's even footage of the soldiers in their riot gear fighting cops in their riot gear, so that the soldiers can help push back the cops, so that the workers can then march through the streets. And this is happening in Firefox 42. Absolutely, general strike. This is
Strike.
happening in Ecuador, Hong Kong, Iraq. It's happening in
Bolivia,
West Papua. It's spreading.
Indonesia.
Yeah, and the Indonesia, and the reason I start with Ecuador is because it's I forget who, but we were talking about it a while ago on a different evening with comrades. The concept of history being paused, but it seems like now history not only has been unpaused, but it's actually on fast forward. And my question is
You might say that history is accelerating.
yeah.
I will kill you.
Do we think what we're seeing in Ecuador is going to happen in, say, Hong Kong? And for this
Possibly.
question, we cross live to Dip Dap.
For the Dab on Dengist half hour,
Okay.
it's our weekly segment.
So, people in Hong Kong are building actual fucking barricades in the street, as well as makeshift catapults to
Yeah, they
fight
built
the
a-
police.
They built what could be classified as a mangonel.
If we're gonna
Yeah.
get technical about it, all right.
This shit is amazing.
Yeah, shall
So we
Dang.
so we have in Hong Kong on the street local organizing, using a lot of tactics that a lot of anarchists around the world would be using. Whereas contrasting in Ecuador, you have, say, a mass movement of people wherein the tactic is to have as many people as possible in one area, especially since they have support from elements of the military with them. So, I guess, like, I guess my question would be, Ecuador looks to be way more successful than Hong Kong, yet Hong Kong is getting more media coverage.
Because Bolivia is a neoliberal government. That's it. Bolivia is a neoliberal government, so so their existence supports the neoliberal order. While although China is still a liberal country, like a capitalist country, they're a different form of capitalist, and they're a rival imperialist.
Oh.
So to say this is that, like, both governments are in danger, but we are projecting that the Chinese government is in more danger for the reason that other imperialist powers want to capitalize on this to make China as an imperialist power look weaker. Bolivia is a neoliberal government that is allied with a lot of the other neoliberal countries, so they don't want to project that a neoliberal country is weak, therefore they aren't covering it.
Why are you saying Bolivia and not Ecuador?
Oh, fuck. Bolivia is too. Bolivia and Ecuador, both are being fucked over.
Oh, okay, yep.
Bolivia, Ecuador, any of the countries in South America right now that are in these like riots are without that.
It's a side note, but I got confused too because a lot of the countries will say the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela or the Bolivarian Republic of Ecuador.
Hmm.
So when I was younger, I thought the whole place was just called Bolivia. Yeah. But more on track. Actually, is there what kind of like military? I guess there wouldn't be military, but what kind of like forces are there in Hong Kong that the Hong Kong protesters have to overcome compared to in Ecuador?
What forces?
Yeah, because I know there's police in Hong Kong.
There's PLA. If the PLA does anything, then they're probably fucked. Though.
Right.
The Red Guards division is the one thing that you want to really worry about.
Yeah, the PLA, the People's Liberation Army of China.
Okay.
So, for a source here, CNN, Helen Reagan, Hong Kong could be at tipping point as warning flag unfurled at Chinese military barracks. A yellow flag raised from atop a PLA Kowloon Tong in North Kowloon, warning protesters they could be prosecuted if they continue to approach the barracks. The flag appears to be similar to those used by police during protests. half a dozen personnel could be seen standing on top of the barracks, shining flashlights at dozens of protesters below, who were aiming laser pointers and other lights at the building. The incident is believed to be the first known interaction between the PLA and protesters during 18 weeks of anti-government demonstrations. Police sources told CNN that it was not the police on the roof of the building, but was personnel from the PLA responding to the crowd. At no point did the soldiers venture from the garrison. Essentially, there could be some confrontation between the PLA and the Hong Kongers. This comes in response to the Hong Kong resurrection of a colonial era mask ban.
Mm-hmm.
They're using a they're using a thing that they had when they were with the English. Yeah, so the law basically bans the use of masks.
Sorry guys. I can hear someone trying to enter my property. This may be it. They may have finally come to my house, and I need to fight them. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Right now in the area, there's an area police threatening and attacking people at a demo against killing cops. Against killing by cop.
Mm.
EML does
There's
not advocate home invasions.
Hong Kongers are also making fire barricades. They're like lining boxes up across a street and then setting the boxes on fire so no one can get past. Things could get really, really powerful soon.
The PLA are gonna do it. They're gonna do it. If this shit keeps going on, eventually they're going to.
Mm.
I don't want to lie. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to sound like I'm parroting the Dengists here, but I will be honest with you. The PLA has indeed shown great restraint.
Surprising restraint for the Chinese PLA. So absolutely surprising restraint.
Because they know the world's watching.
Oh yeah,
And
this is
because
not,
they know
this is not.
This is
Yeah.
not clearing out a street. This is not like clearing out a fucking plaza. This is a fucking military campaign.
City. This
Yeah,
is
they
a
can't-
city.
They can't just fucking put some color over it and pretend it doesn't happen because journalists will be on the ground the whole time.
Hong Kongers also have cell phones.
Yeah.
You can't like run away from a like. This isn't the day that nothing happened. People have technology to document things. They can't just do nothing. And well, they literally can't do quote unquote nothing in Hong Kong. Wink, wink. Like that, I think is an important thing to make sure you know is they can't just do nothing anymore because of the amount of connections that Hong Kongers have to the outside world. To quote somebody from the protests, "We are not afraid of the new law. We will continue fighting. We will fight for righteousness. I put on the mask to tell the government that I am not afraid of tyranny." This is from a Reuters article. But this law has not been enacted for like 50 years. Yeah, more than 50 years. It was last used more than 50 years ago, and Carrie Lam basically invoked it for emergency powers. Basically, China is not upholding the one country, two systems thing at all.
Nope.
In response to the mask ban, people are not having it. I think that Carrie Lam thought that would scare people. It just made them more angry. I think that's all I can really say on Hong Kong right now. But anything else? Like there's been less this week than anything else that's happened in the last 18.
Yeah, it's been very quiet.
Yeah. I I think it's ironic that the Ecuadorian president's first name, though, is Lenin. I think Peru is also having a constitutional crisis.
Oh, what happened?
Um, something about they deposed their president and may have enacted a coup.
Oh, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, the president of Peru stages a coup from WSJ, the Wall Street Journal, this week. Dissolved Congress after delivering a vote of confidence, which is unconstitutional. I think TK has been effectively killed by whoever that is door.
Nice. I mean,
But the thing is today the president has dissolved Congress, which is unconstitutional.
Oh
And
boy.
lawmakers are now suspending the president.
Jesus Christ, what have I
So,
missed?
that the
Oh,
Peruvian.
so who broke in?
The wind. So I had to check on my bun. The bun is fine.
The thing, though, is that Peru having a constitutional crisis. This is essentially the president saying the Congress has no power, and the Congress saying the president has no power.
that's a prelude to a civil war if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, multiple lawmakers have been seen trying to leave the country, and then their visas were revoked.
So this
Their own passports were revoked by the people at the airports.
this seems, or at least I am starting to hope, that this is like a spreading of a general discontent with how things are run. Compare it to, say, the revolutions during the 1800s, where we went from straight on feudalism over into, say, constitutional monarchies, then further into sort of democratization, wherein instead of instead of like, oh, we're gonna fight and depose this king and then replace it with another, instead of that, it was, we're gonna get rid of the king and we're gonna put in something else. Do you guys think that all these different constitutional crisis here, uprising in Hong Kong here, Ecuadorian uprising in
Bolivia,
Ecuador.
Peru.
Yeah, do you think it's like leading to a general we're sick of liberal bourgeois democracy, we don't want it anymore?
So what you're asking, TK, is the fire rising?
It
Well,
was-
I think yes, to an extent. I think Trump is actually the first symptom of that. Trump was the very first symptom of that, in terms of the scale we're talking.
The thing I'd ask Trump obviously is, do you feel in charge?
Yeah, I think that the neoliberal order is like kind of faltering as a whole now, and they're trying to like downplay the amount of failure they've had. They cannot counter effectively the groups that are against them. So other imperialists are hard to fend off, so they have to like sort of play up what's exactly happening, and then insurgent groups within the countries, like I think it was this week, the mosque shooting in Germany. Radicalization on both sides is occurring. No, the synagogue shooting in Germany by some Nazi.
Yeah, that was.
Does
That was
that
pretty
come
bad.
from a place of not the shooting, but does other actions like radicalized actions, does that come from a place of ineffectual stuff where people are getting frustrated and seeing that, all right, okay, a petition isn't going to work, standing in the middle of the
Possibly.
road blocking traffic isn't quite going to work. We need to ramp it up. Do you think that's the steps we're going to start seeing in, say, the US and Australia and the UK and Europe and whatnot?
Hopefully, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yes, what else do we have to talk about?
Not much we really can talk about besides that. I mean, the Boogaloo is imminent, which is going to be fun.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, societal collapse is happening, but where do you guys think where do you guys think it's going to spread?
No clue. Also, I'll be right back.
Everywhere. It's slowly starting to take effect.
Yep, I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, Pac-Man, it's just you and me. My friend, I
Do
wish
I
I wish
think
to accelerate the dialectic.
Oh yeah,
I
dialectic will accelerate.
because I'm looking
Alright,
all
Pac.
around the world and I'm seeing things that are working. Specifically, to bring it back to Ecuador again, the military is defecting to the workers' side, and there's footage of them inside the government building, waving union flags, and I'm just thinking
Two
like,
things.
why can't we get that in Australia? Because my rent's due.
Okay, so speaking of that kind of stuff, I believe that in Ecuador there have really been occupations of what are they? Oil fields
You
by
were
indigenous groups.
you were cutting out there for a second. What were you saying?
Indigenous groups in Ecuador have occupied oil fields.
Oh,
Second, oil is now not profitable. This is big. Oil is now a non-profitable industry. It has fallen below the rate of profit.
Falling rate of profit. Ah!
Falling rate of profit!
He was
oh,
right.
Oh
He was
my
right.
God!
He was right!
Max was right.
Once again, boys, he was right.
Shit. So it's confirmed 100% that oil is now no longer profitable anywhere at
Correct.
all.
Yes. BP recently set fire to one of their oil fields because they couldn't sell it.
I saw that. Fucking Venezuela has so much of it but can't sell it. I think okay. I think that's a little different. They've got sanctions on them, so they can't sell their massive amounts of oil. So they're giving it away to Cuba. So I think
Yep.
that's a little different. But you're right. I saw that BP one. I think specifically they had to start burning it off
Hello.
because the storage tanks were full, but they were still
Yes.
refining it.
Yep.
Jesus.
You know what this is called? This is called the crisis of overproduction. Another thing Marx was right about.
Number 2, ladies and gentlemen. That's
The 2-for-1.
That's the old
A
1-2,
two
the
for-
left and then the right hook.
The left and the left hook.
Yeah. Wow, that's actually got me kind of
We're-
excited now.
We're peak oil. Peak oil. It's happening, boys.
Shit. All right. So what would be the effects of a collapse of the oil industry, though? Like, how bad could it get?
Depression.
I mean, I've got that,
could
but
go-
like,
Well, okay. Major U.S. allies' main exports are oil.
Mhm.
Saudi Arabia, and
Oh.
who is our base in the Middle East to facilitate our oil monopolies is Israel. Next, this means that the U.S. will have lost a thing that it has been relying on for imperialism for the past 40 years. But I believe the first excursions into the Middle East by America were like 40 years ago, 35 years ago. This essentially means that imperialistic cartel building is now bunk, which means that the U.S. empire will lose power and influence because the thing it's been sending people to die for and killing civilians and people for is dead in the water. It's becoming it's on life support, I should say, because it's going to keep dropping, which means that and I'm going to say this right now, this means conservatives will start buying into climate change, but this is a bad thing as well, because that means they will shift all of the blame onto poor communities and continue their faux eugenic process of being like, we should send birth control to the fucking brown people.
Oof. Yeah.
Which is a eugenic lie, because conservatives have never heard of a thing called per capita.
Pregabusi. Fuck, why do I have to say that name? It says in
You're the fucking host.
he says in the chat, or they say in the chat, collapse of the oil industry, fallout the game would happen. You're not wrong, because I don't think enough people are organized enough around the world for what Dip Dap is essentially describing. Because the US is essentially a sociopath, and it's only trying to get as much use as it can out of another nation. As soon as it's not useful, it'll just cut it off and just leave it to rot. And if the local organizations aren't built up enough, if there isn't enough, radicalized unions in that country ready to usurp the system that's in it, then there's going to be a lot of suffering, which is bad, obviously, and there's going to be a lot of I'm
going to say one thing though, is suffering offers us an in.
That is true.
It sounds kind of bad to say that, but I'm saying suffering does allow us an in with people by saying we can fix the suffering. Then you give them an option. And what the left needs to do is give people an option.
That meme that a lot of people will put around, it's like when the capitalists reach up and say help us, we'll look down and say no. We shouldn't do that. When people come to us and say, "Oh my God, you were right. The left was right. Marx was right. All these things he's saying. What should we do?" The worst thing to do is to say, "I told you so."
I told you so.
Yeah, and then leave them to suffer. No, that's where we got to swoop in and say, "All right, here's what we do: fully automated luxury gay space communism."
The
a little more
real
nuanced
movement
than
that
that.
abolishes the current state of things.
While you studied ever expanding capital,
God.
I studied the Communist Manifesto. When you were larping it up in Vegas, I was refining Marxism, Leninism, and now the collapse of capital is here, and the wolves are at the door. You have the audacity to ask me for help? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can't help it. Yes. Well, too bad. I've got my little statue of Lenin, and I'm going home.
Well, I
don't care about helping people. As long as I get concentration camps in snowy areas, I'm happy.
Okay, let's not go there.
EML does not advocate violence or concentration camps. EML does not advocate Pac-Man.
The views of Posadist Pac-Man do not necessarily reflect the views of Eastern Marshlands.
I love how half of Eastern Marshlands content is just disavowing my hot takes. It really is.
Listen, Peter Bolton.
Okay. I am 100% gonna be honest with you. The reason why I'm in such a sectarian mood today is because of all the fucking assholes shouting critical support for Turkey against the YPG, and I'm just
I
I'm
mean,
just
Pac-Man, you're saying you're sectarian. Look at my Twitter for 5 minutes, and you'll see that I am more than you could dream of being.
Look, there's a serious problem in the left, and you see, the thing is, we were joking about it just before, but I genuinely think there is a large group of Marxist-Leninists and albeit not as large, but still considerable amount of anarchists
Loud.
who literally who would literally abandon people just because they don't fit in the minute I know, I'm going to use the plural, the minutiae of their ideology. Like,
Sorry,
you disagree with me in like 1%.
You don't agree with our decision on the 1956 Hungarian Revolution. I can't
Unity in
give
the
you this
milieu.
grain, this food, this thing you need to live.
Unity among the milieu, but that doesn't mean we should like accept people who are like diametrically opposed to our beliefs.
I mean, we're talking very doomsday stuff, very apocalyptic sort of scenario. I assume I know the timeline for this is actually going to be very long. A lot of people will start feeling the effects of these in 5 to 10 years. So my question, of course, is what can we do now? Because comrades around the world are already in the streets building barricades in Hong Kong, Ecuador, Iraq, and so on and so
Join
forth.
an org.
But what
okay.
about us sitting in front of our laptops, shit posting on YouTube?
American comrades, burn your draft cards.
Burn your draft card.
No. That's like, really? I mean, talking to the guy who just prank called the Turkish embassy in Australia. Look, I genuinely think that any resistance is resistance, and I think that, short of firebombing, if you firebomb your local police station and it's just you doing it, you're gonna get stepped on by the liberals and the fucking fascists and the police all at once. You're not gonna achieve anything.
Now, if you're 75 people bombing a fire, I mean, what?
Email does not
advocate violence. Look, if you're going to be, like, if you're wanting to impact serious political change, your only real thing is to, as horrible as it sounds, is to proselytize. Really, you need to spread the good word of Karl Marx wherever you go. You need to let people know every chance you get. If you have an opportunity to bring it up without seeming like you're a broken record, which I seem like quite a lot. Anytime there's an opportunity to discuss the crisis of capital, anytime, like my former employment, I used to do it all the time. If there was an opportunity to spread Marxist propaganda, I fucking would. Don't think I wouldn't. I would say, like, as I said, it's my famous story. I once discussed the fucking labor theory of value with a customer and how it plays into the iPhone I just sold them.
Jesus.
Like, it's some, and you just have to take every chance you get. When you've got an opportunity to talk about it, you fucking talk about it. Because, to quote Lenin, nothing is achieved by incest. Now there is a context to that, which is he came into the Petrograd organization for workers, which is where he met Krupskaya, and all they did was what fucking online Twitter tankies are doing right now. They're trading articles by other Marxists between other Marxists and saying, oh, look, we've refined this theory, and I shared it with the Marxists across the street, and they think this is good. Like, have you actually talked to any of the workers who you want to implement this theory with? Well, no, but we're going to. Okay, the other thing I will say, join your union. If you're working right now, join your union. Unless you're in fast food, don't join the SDA. Join Hospo Voice.
Fuck SDA.
Actually, correction. Hospo Voice is part of United Voice, and United Voice have just formed with the NUW, so join UWU.
The United
All right,
Workers Union. Uwu.
Listen. I have a quote for you from the fucking manifesto.
Oh fuck.
It is high time that communists should openly, in the face of the whole world, publish their views, their arms, their tendencies, and meet this nursery tale of the specter of communism with a manifesto of the party itself. Don't hide your views.
Yeah.
If
Well,
it's not a if in a situation it does not endanger you as a person, publish reviews.
I mean, I wasn't exactly going to tell my prospective employers that I'm a rabid union organizer.
If my mates,
They'll
right,
find out. Don't worry, they'll find out.
if my comrades are just having a general chat down the street, right, and someone then starts going off at them, oh, don't you know, like, communism killed 50 million people? They can call me, and I will I'll wake my own ass up, and I will get down to wherever the hell they are, and I will argue for 4 hours against whoever is talking shit, because they're my comrade, and I will be there for them, and I will help. I will help them promote unionism, workers' rights, and we will wear our badges proudly. I've forgotten the quote. God damn it.
Okay, so Prager Bussy says join the IWW if you're American. Look, I like the IWW, the Wobblies are awesome, but no. What I'm talking about is the Sheet Metal Workers Union of Philadelphia, or whatever. Your local union, which is a bunch of neoliberals. You join that union. And the reason you join that union is because you will be saying all the right things, except the S word or the C word. You don't say either of those things. But you join those unions. You join those neoliberal reformist unions, and you sit there and go, how about we do this, or how about we do
I
that?
just realized by S and C what you meant socialism and capitalism and not shit and cunt.
Jesus.
I was going to say socialism and communism, but you don't say those words. You don't say those words. You say, oh, we should have more representation in the place where we work. We should have these rights. We should have these. We should have that, etc., etc. And you are saying socialism. You are saying communism, but you're not actually saying it. And your neoliberal friends will agree with you that this is the right direction a union will take, not realizing the specter of communism is exactly that. It haunts.
Firefox 42. I'm going to say the S word.
Mrs. Obama, get down!
See, the specter is always somewhere. It's always somewhere.
Yeah.
You see, they walk around, they think
Yeah.
it's gone, and then they open the closet, and there it is.
You know, if I clean up in here a bit, I might actually find it, you know?
All right. That seems actually like a really good point to cap off on. Join your union. Join unions. Nobody strikes harder than a double Carter. Let me just say that. Does anybody else have any last words on that topic?
The specter shows up everywhere, and you must facilitate the specter.
Except West Virginia. No one goes to West Virginia.
All right. Well,
I hear that it's almost heaven.
Any last
Nobody
plugs?
expects the specter of communism.
Where should we subscribe to? Although I think it's the regulars, so everybody's already subscribed to everybody, I think.
Yeah, well,
follow
subscribe to
my
me.
fucking Twitter, and you'll see me rant at Dengists all week long.
Subscribe to me and watch Anime Communism in live and in HD.
Follow.
That's a fun thing. Side note for all the people here, I actually meet V in real life today.
Ooh.
V? Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
on the EML Discord.
Yeah, they both live in Adelaide. Sorry, city. Fuck.
Yep, docs.
I'm an idiot.
I'm already in. Everyone knows I live in Adelaide anyway. Yeah, we are undercover in the.
Oh God, Königsmark, the S word, siege.
Oh, have you not read Siege? Because I've read. which you don't want to read.
All right.
You've read the Attack on Titan manga.
I've read the Attack on Titan manga. Yes, I've read Siege.
All right. Before we start doing a verbatim reading of Siege, I want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat. I want to make a special thank you to Pac-Man, Dip Dap, and Theo. I want to remind everyone to like and subscribe to stay updated with everything Eastern Marshland. Come join us on the Discord. I've been your host, TK Jones. Join us next week. Good night and good luck.
Come join me on my channel for my new segment, Atomize Ankara. See you later.